we're going to go ahead and get started, and we can work on getting Bruce connected. It's Wednesday, August 26th, 3 o'clock. This is a August meeting of the Champaign-Urbana Mass Transit District Board. At this time, I'm going to read a brief statement that since the board meeting will not be open to the public due to Governor Pritzker's social distancing requirements, comments may be emailed to public@mtd.org. That is public@mtd.org. They will be read aloud in the audience participation portion of the meeting in the order that they are received. Email submissions will be accepted until the time reserved for audience participation of the meeting is over. Each comment will be limited to 5 minutes. This time we'll call our meeting to order, and I'll ask for a roll call, please.
Barnes.
Here.
Bauer.
Here.
Chaplin. Here. Delgado.
Here.
Pasella. Hannon. Dial.
Here.
Quorum is present.
Thank you. Our first item for today will be the approval for our agenda for today's meeting.
I move that the agenda be approved as distributed.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve our agenda for today's meeting that will require a roll call.
Oops.
Yes.
Sorry. Barnes. Bauer.
Yes.
Chaplin.
Yes.
Delgado.
Yes.
Hannon. Dial.
Yes, that motion carries. Our next item is audience participation. Have you had any audience participation notes
No,
submitted?
there's no comments.
Okay, thank you. Next item is approval of minutes of our previous board meeting, open session, July 29th of 2020. Please review and a motion.
I move the minutes be approved as distributed. Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes from our open session, July 29th, 2020. Roll call, please.
Barnes.
Yes.
Bauer.
Yes.
Chaplin.
Yes.
Delgado.
Yes.
Dial.
Yes, that motion carries. Communications, Carl.
We have none.
All right, we'll move on to the managing director's report.
All right, thank you. The statistics that I'll be talking about are for July, which is the first month of the fiscal year. So the monthly and the year-to-date numbers will be identical. So I'll just give you the monthly. July ridership dropped 46.3% compared to last year. It was 226,004 riders this July versus 420,729 last July. Of course, that's for the obvious reason of COVID-19. We continue to feel the impacts of that. And then I just wanted to note that as a reminder, when you're looking through, if you look through the rest of this report and you're looking at the fare type report, at the fare type ridership, that is grossly not accurate, I guess I would say, since we're doing rear door boarding. We're just, it's just not a situation where operators can keep a good eye on what type of rider is boarding, and then to add insult to injury, we're not doing fare enforcement, so there's no showing of an ID or anything to identify for the driver what kind of rider it is. So it's really operators taking their best guess, and so I just want to caution the board and the public, if you look through this, to keep that in mind, that we're not cooking the books or anything, but the numbers are a little goofy right now because so. Moving on, the operating revenue. Operating revenue was 14.8% below July of last year. And the operating expenses, I have a correction here. There's an error in my report. The little arrow in the box is correct, but in the text I say that the operating expenses are below, but operating expenses were actually 0.6% above July of last year. And then the year-to-date revenue and expenses, operating revenues are $103,000 below budget, while operating expenses are $581,000 below budget. And I just want to spend a moment talking about the service level that we have on the street. We have had a slight modification to our services, primarily because of the availability of our employee pool. COVID-19 continues to be a challenge for our employees. Schools are not in person, and so many of our employees who are parents have kids at home. And so it's been challenging to schedule people. And so we have made the decision to cut off our fixed route service at 1 a.m. instead of 5 a.m. And that's the main thing that we're doing. And we have some other minor modifications to some of the other routes, but that overnight, late night service is primarily what we're not operating right now. And that's to reduce the number of hours that we have to schedule people that we don't have access to. And then I have two employment announcements. One is that Mass Transit Magazine every year does an exhaustive review of every single transit professional in the country who is under the age of 40. And then they create a list of the top 40 under 40. And this isn't our first time to have an employee on that list, but this year we have, and it should be no surprise to anybody who knows her, Jane Sullivan was included on that national list today, really international list. She's one of the world renowned. I'm just trying to see how red I can get that face. Anyway, congratulations to Jane. It is an honor, and we're very proud of her, and we appreciate her hard work here. And then the other is a few months ago, or maybe it was last month, I have a hard time keeping track of time anymore. We had Jay Rank here because he had been promoted to our operations director. And so that has left a hole in our planning department since he was previously the planning manager. But we have a new planner on board to help fill out that staff. And so I'd like to introduce Dan Sapphire. He's our brand new analyst planner. And Dan, if you want to take just a minute to say no more than 20, 30 minutes worth of an introduction.
Hi, my name is Dan Sapphire. I'm very excited to be here. A little bit about me. I went to college in St. Paul, Minnesota at McAllister College, where I studied economics and geography. And after that, I participated in an internship at Metro Transit in the BRT projects department for a year. And then I returned to Mazatlan, Mexico, where I grew up and was working as a transportation planner for the city there for 6 months. And then I saw the job here and I really wanted to come up. And so, yeah, very excited to be part of the team.
Thanks, Dan. So why don't you impress everybody with your planning abilities and explain what bus rapid transit is?
So bus rapid transit usually has its own lane, in-lane stopping, usually used in tandem with transit signal priority. At Metro Transit, we weren't using dedicated bus lanes. We were focusing on far side stops, transit signal priority, and in-lane stops. Basically, strategies to not reduce traffic flow, but drastically increase bus speeds. A lot of it was just greater stop spacing. And it was a capital projects group. So we planned out the shelters. Here, my role, I think, will be more operations focused. So I'm excited to learn more about that too.
Great, thank you. We're excited to have Dan. And then my final note is that as a result of the governor's newly revised executive order and the Champaign-Urbana Public Health District's ordinance, Beginning this past Monday, it is now a requirement for passengers to wear masks on board. And as always, our operators have a stash of masks with them that they can offer to individuals should they not have their own. So we are messaging that to the public that they need to be wearing masks, and we'll see how that goes. And that's my report.
Excellent. Any questions from the board for Carl on any of these items that we've talked about so
Yeah,
far?
actually, any questions through page 39, I'll take.
Carl, I have a question.
Okay.
Have the drivers told people to get off since they refuse to wear a mask?
No, they have not, and we don't intend to do that. We don't have a police force, and the local police departments have told us that they will not enforce mask wearing. And so we don't want to create situations where our operators are in conflict with the public. As you know, mask wearing has become a bit of a hot button political issue. And so we are choosing the path of least resistance in this case in order to not create conflict.
I hear you.
Anything else from the board for Carl? Okay, seeing and hearing none, congratulations, Jane, and Dan, welcome to the family here. Congratulations on your hiring. All right, our next item is our first and only action item for today, and that is the contract for the Administration Facility Remodel.
Thanks, Brad. This is the remodel for our admin and operations facility at 1101 East University in Urbana. This project has been in the works for a little while. There are some areas of the office that we really are busting at the seams.
When Jane says a little while, I think she means like longer than 3 years. It's been a long gestating project.
Yeah, it took a while to get the plans in place. We initially went down the route of trying to use some state funding for this, but now we're grateful we kind of veered away from that. And as you'll see, we ended up with 80% federal grant, and we'll use 20% local funds. But so we went through a process to get some state approvals, and it also took time to get the plans in place. It's a complex project and very much needed. So we did a competitive bidding process, and we got some really good bids. And the low bid is a good one that we're hoping to award, and that's to FH Passion in the amount of $1,053,000. Let's see if there's anything else I want to mention here. The low bid is below the architect's estimate, so we were happy about that, of course. We won't have to go through IDOT approvals, like I mentioned, so upon your approval, we can really get rolling. I think I'll stop there and take questions.
Did the News Gazette have mention the federal grant?
Yes, the article did mention that it
Okay.
was funded with a federal grant.
Good. I couldn't remember.
Additional questions, Margaret?
I'm assuming you're planning to continue operations while the remodeling is going on. I mean, you're going to stay in building and do everything you can amidst all the upheaval.
Yeah, of course. We can break it up into some phases, and the first phase will be the space that is currently vacant. So they'll get that out. We expect, of course, the contractor has some say in this, but what we're anticipating is that they'll start in the vacant space, get that all ready for our operations department to move into, and then they can work on the space that operations is currently in, and they'll be able to do it in some phasing because we have this vacant space.
If this is approved, how soon would the contractor be starting the build?
We should be able to kick things off in the next week. In terms of when they'll be on site and actually knocking things down and stuff, I can't say, but we should be able to move pretty quickly.
And completion?
I don't think I can speak to completion yet, but I'll know more once we have our kickoff meeting.
Margaret, we tentatively have a pre-construction meeting scheduled for Friday, pending today's approval, of course. But post that meeting, then some of these questions will have answers. But we haven't awarded the contract yet to the contractor, so we don't know what their schedule will be.
So I want to get it straight. There is this area which has been, I think it was Carl, occupied. And you need, as far as expanded space for the staff, not all of that space. Is that correct?
That's correct. I think it's about maybe a third of that space or something.
I see.
That
Now, are you remodeling any of the rest of it so that it's more attractive to renters?
no, we're building a wall so that it's separated, but we're not remodeling the vacant offices.
Bruce, generally, if we were to get a tenant in these challenging times to find a tenant, but if we were to find one, then they have the opportunity to design the space the way they want it, and that's called fit up, and so that generally is done at the time when you sign a tenant up, so that it can be to their specifications. If we do it ahead of time, it could just be money wasted because
I see.
they might want to make changes to it.
I got it. Thank you.
Dick? You good? Okay. Additional questions from any of our remote board members on this item?
No questions, but I think it's a good idea, especially with social distancing. We don't want people right up against each other.
Okay. Thank you, Linda. Anything else from the board? Seeing and hearing none, I'll ask for a motion and a second on this item.
I move that we enable the director to enter into this contract.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve a contract for the Administration Facility Remodel in total of $1,053,000. Roll call, please.
Barnes,
Yes.
Bauer. Bauer,
Yes,
Chaplin,
Yes.
Delgado,
Yes.
Hannan. Hannan,
Yes.
Dial.
Yes, that motion carries. That was our only action item for our meeting today. Our next meeting, a regularly scheduled meeting, will be at 3 o'clock on September 30th, 2020 on Wednesday, very likely right here at the MTD Transit Center. Anything else for the good of the community? We are adjourned.